All hail the geeks who like sports.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joined by my best friend the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, we have a huge show for the people today. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Ray. It's actually a beautiful day here in Philadelphia. You know, with the spring forward time change, it turns out the sun is still out and will now set after 7 p.m., which changes everybody into a much more vibrant mood. And then they go out and drive. And then just remember, this is still the East Coast, right?
Yes.
But Ray, we all have to live, correct?
Yes.
So that brings us to today's non-sponsor. I gave a lot of thought about this one because it seems lazy and generic, but it's Pure Life Water. Because something you've taught me, Ray, about, we'll take this to a geek standpoint. Athletically, we all know we need the water.
Yes.
But geek-wise, this is a very important thing to have. And I know from knowing you for many years, you are an avid water drinker when you game to keep yourself cleansed and focused.
100%.
So I think it is time we shout out to Pure Life or any other water company that might want to sponsor us.
I also have Ralph's purified drinking water.
Hey, Ralph knows what he's talking about. But when it comes to water, we need you to know that Pure Life, if you don't sponsor us, you're the non-sponsor this week.
H2O.
Yeah, we'll find another agua company to do this. But no, seriously, give it a shout out to all the water companies. I used to hate bottled water, Ray, because I thought it was a gimmick in the sense of like there's so much water on the planet. Why do I got to pay for it? But I've changed my tune on that over the years, right? I do think it's potentially overpriced, but it's convenient. It's clean. I think we know more now about faucet water than we did then. You and I grew up on faucet water.
Oh, for absolutely. Yeah. I will not drink water out of the faucet here in LA. That is basically poison.
Right. So when we were kids, we drank the poison, and look what happened.
I don't think that. But the thing is, I don't think it was as much poison when we were kids.
Well, I hope not. Yeah.
I think there was like in the 50s and 60s there was a lot of poison, and then they fixed it, and then it got worse again. Like I know here in LA, like our pipes are falling apart, and so like it was. And the point where I got filters for the sink, right? And I was trying to use that, but because the water in LA here is so bad, I did a cost analysis, and I was like, the filters are so expensive, and I'm going through them so quickly because of the terrible water here in Los Angeles that I have to go to bottled water, and I'll kill myself with microplastics instead. So there we go.
And these are mostly recyclable now to a point that it's acceptable. But I wanted to give a shout out to bottled water. I mean, and look, let's be honest. On the East Coast, I mean, New York has mutated turtles that grow up in the sewers.
Yes.
And gigantic rats. That's not a joke or fantasy. It's both.
Yeah.
So, and in Philadelphia, and there's the alligator people.
I'd rather drink East Coast faucet water than LA faucet water.
Well, that's because we grew up on it, right? We have the immunity to the poisons over here. But listen, joking aside. Drink your water. It's a very important part of your day. If you're a geek, a gamer, you know you need this. When we were growing up, they were all like, hey, get a big gulp, drink a lot of soda, drink a lot of Mountain Dew. Turns out, Ray, that's not what you should be drinking when you game.
No.
Right? No, you should be drinking water. So
absolutely drinking water.
Ray, hold up your water bottle. This week's non-sponsor of the week, water.
Water.
We need it. It's the essential element of life on this planet.
Yes.
Water. You can hear it on the mic.
Yes, absolutely.
And speaking of that, Ray, you weren't kidding. We do have some really good, juicy topics today to go over from a sports and a geek standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'll let you dive into them because no matter where we go, we're going to win.
Yeah, no, we've got cartoons, we've got movies, we've got video games, we've got the Oscars, we've got boxing, sort of. We got football, we got hockey, we got wrestling. I say it's sort of. You understand when we get to the topic.
I think it was fair. I think that was fair.
Yeah.
It's the same story again in that world, but we'll talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. But we're going to get started with the NHL trade deadline. We touched upon this a little bit when we were recording last week.
We kind of touched on all of it. Not much happened after we were done last week. We made the right call in jumping on that when we did.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it actually wasn't, as you said, a lot more smaller deals happened as it went on. We mentioned, though, big ones. Florida really geared up. They got Tarasenko from Ottawa. Yeah. Rangers made smaller moves, really just kind of filled the holes that they had due to injuries. trying to keep chemistry together. And at least through one game, it looked like the Rangers played very well. The other night, probably their most complete 60 minutes of hockey, probably since December, if I'm going to be very honest.
Right.
But they got Wenberg from Seattle. They've got Roslovic from Columbus. They got Ruedel from Pittsburgh, and they didn't even use him. They used Zach Jones because Jacob Trouba will be hurt until the beginning of April, but fortunately we'll get back just in time.
Yeah, these are maintenance trades for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, definitely not the biggest splashes. So a lot more big splashes in the Western Conference. Thomas Hertl acquired by the Vegas Golden Knights at the very last minute.
I mean, Hertl power is about to get supercharged out there.
Yes, as soon as he comes back from injury, which they are expecting either the last couple games of the season or the first game of the playoffs.
It's a smart playoff move. It really is.
And if he is anything, if he gets anywhere close to 100%, he is going to make Vegas a threat. Even out, they're going to probably only end up being one of the wild card teams in the Western Conference.
That's okay. They're built to win the cup again. I believe Colorado is the obvious team in the Western Conference that is gearing up for the major cup run. One more in the Eastern Conference, right? The Flyers did pick up Eric Johnson, Stanley Cup winning defenseman, first overall pick in the draft the year he was drafted. A lot of my Flyers fans are joking we finally got our first overall pick. But I like these moves for the Flyers because it is a maintenance move. Our defense core is heavily injured at the moment. So this will fill that in, but you got to really look at what the Flyers are doing. I think hockey fans could respect this. They're bringing in like these veteran D that aren't going to play more than a few seasons to teach the young D how to win. Right. And again, some of these guys may be here, if the Flyers end up going further and further and further. It depends how long that process takes. But I really like this as a team that, we joke about, is this a rebuild? Is it not? They are far beyond wherever people thought they were going to be. If this was a rebuild. I mean, here's a good question, Ray, and this is in all sports. It's like, when does the rebuild end? Like, when do you not classify it as a rebuild? My belief on that is when you become a playoff team, the rebuild is over, right? Because now you are building for a championship, right? If you're good enough to make the playoffs, you're good enough to build that way. Flyers, as of right now, this could change, are in a playoff spot. So should they make the playoffs this season, to me, the rebuild is over and you can focus on the future.
Right.
The moves they made at the trade deadline are not rebuild moves, right? They are let's get better moves, right? In the sense of like, we're not starting from scratch, right? But would you agree with that the playoffs, if you make the playoffs, the rebuild is over in terms of using that term?
I think so. I mean, I think to be fair, it's definitely goes out of style if you make the playoffs multiple years in a row, I feel like, because like you could have a fluke year and then almost like you're back to you look at the Devils, right? The Devils aren't going to make they made the playoffs. They went for a while, didn't make the playoffs, made the playoffs last year, kind of came out of nowhere. And now they're kind of right back to where they were 2 years ago.
That may be more of a coaching issue. And like I said, like these are issues that teams go through. We should also define what rebuild is. Rebuild to me is you're blowing it all up and you're starting from scratch. Right. And the Flyers kind of did that. Right. Speaking of the Flyers, we got to give a shout out to our mutual loved coach, John Tortorella, who got not only suspended, but kicked out of a game recently. Suspension is actually ridiculous. A 2-game suspension for yelling at the refs. The real reason they suspended him is because he got himself on TV where he could read every word out of his mouth. Expletive deleted. But this guy's standing up for his team. There's a fire in Philadelphia right now. This team is going to do something soon.
And honestly, I mean, look, I know you got to protect the refs and all that other stuff, but it's also it's bush league that the refs didn't go over and talk to Torts. In my opinion.
I hate that as a coach. I hate that.
Yeah,
right. You give me the respect of talking to me as a coach, and I will give you the respect back. And if I don't at that point,
right,
absolutely,
and that's what happened with Torts. That's why he blew up. Is that the ref would not come over and talk to him,
right,
and explain to him what the situation was, like you said, like a ref to a coach, like he should. Right. And I think that only makes the suspension all the more ridiculous because I really think it comes down to, look, and I get the refs have a hard job and it's really easy to bash the refs, but when the refs screw up, and in this case, I feel like they screw up, they should be called out. I think that they should, this is something that league should look into.
Well, the respect goes both ways.
Exactly.
That's what I'll say. Like the refs and coach and players, they all have to respect each other. I talked to the great Kerry Fraser on another show that I do, and he had said this really great quote that you cannot beat the other team and the refs. All right. Like you can only beat the other team. Now, interesting enough, quick Flyer story here. They lost that game 7-0. They got destroyed.
Yeah.
And the reason I know and I love where this team is heading, is because somehow the Flyers spun that to a positive call to arms, right? Which is something that great teams do. All right.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking during the game, this is either going to be a devastating loss that kind of like actually could hurt us really bad moving forward, or they're going to flip it on its side, which is exactly what they did. And that, you know, they've done a masterful job this year, Ray, of any misfortune they turned it into like, hey, the world hates us and we're going to go take on the world. Giants fans know that statement very well. But yeah, look, trade deadline is passed. The teams are now primed. You know, I always tell people this time of the season, like if you're a top 3 team, top 5 team, Rangers would fall into that, Bruins. Obviously the Panthers are in that, you know, now is not the time to watch those teams. It's the times to watch the 5 teams fighting for those playoff spots. Right. And like, that's why a Tampa Bay suddenly explodes and gets 7 goals on another potential playoff team, the Flyers. Right. So I always tell people like the Rangers fans this time of year, like, look, it's not that you shouldn't be okay treading water. It's not what I'm saying, but like if they go on idle for a little bit for these next 10 games, they've got some breathing room. You got to get yourself. Now you do need to be primed those last 5 games. All right, you want to go into the playoffs winning.
Yes.
All right, but now is not the time to have your big win streak of the year. Right. You want that later.
And that's the thing is like the Islanders now on your tail. They're having their big win streak right now because they're trying to get back into the playoff.
Right.
Picture,
and I think that's going to cool off. And I think the Flyers
absolutely.
Are come back.
And I think the Rangers, the Rangers had a very nice 4-0 win. Shesterkin's second shutout of the year against the Blues of the night.
Yeah, look
Rangers,
at him waking up, right?
By the way, the Rangers, Shesterkin went from the worst goalie in the league in January to the best goalie in the league in February, which is much more into what we expect from Shesterkin. Rangers will have a crazy schedule. 6 games, starting with the St. Louis game in 9 days. They have game, day off, 2 games, day off, game, day off, and then I think like 2 games. It's a really, really rough schedule that the Rangers have here in March. And again, especially with Jacob Trouba banged up until April and a couple of other injuries. Obviously, this is just like how does that's just. I get that a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Rangers are having a lot of primetime games, and I get that. New York, number 1 market, all that other stuff. But it's almost a little. I'm not going to complain too much, but it is a little unfair that the Rangers have to play 6 games in 9 days.
It's a lot. But this is where that 13-point lead on everyone plays in. And you know, look, if you guys blow a 13-point lead with less than 20% of the schedule left, it would be the greatest collapse in history. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, they only have and that's in terms of getting into the playoffs. Obviously, they have a game in hand on Carolina, but they're only 2 points ahead of Carolina for the division, which they played the Devils tonight, and then they go down to Carolina tomorrow. So that'll be a big game just for the sake of division standings and possible first-round matchups. But, it's going to be really interesting. Like you said, it's very tight in the East going down to the wire. Tampa Bay, Detroit, the Flyers, and the Islanders, 3 spots up for grabs.
I mean,
and everybody
even,
within 2 points.
Even Washington's kind of hanging in there if they wanted to. You know what I mean? They have a lot of games.
They're only 3 points back of the last playoff spot.
Right, and with games at hand, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so look, the Eastern Conference wild card race is exciting. This is the time of year I always have to remind Philadelphia fans, like, we just need to get in the playoffs. I don't care what number we are. Just get in. Like, people lose their minds over this stuff. When you look at the Western Conference, you know, it's a little bit of a different thing where, you know, there's I'm looking at it right now. There's 6 points between the second wild card spot and then the Minnesota Wild. So so we see this all the time. The Western Conference, not closed, but closing pretty quickly. It's going to be seeding.
Exactly. You know who the 8 teams probably are going to be. Although this also brings up, you mentioned the Wild. I did want to touch upon this. I want to get your thoughts on this. The Wild won last night 4-3 in overtime against the Predators, who are one of the teams they're chasing for one of those wild cards. They're now 9 points back of Nashville, but they're kind of I don't want to say in panic mode, but the Wild know that every point matters, and with about a minute and a half left in overtime. Obviously, overtime rules in regular season, 3-on-3. They pull their goalie. They got the puck into the offensive zone. They pull their goalie to make it a 4-on-3 and capitalized on it. And honestly, Lee, I think it was a smart move because why risk it in a shootout, especially if you're particularly not confident in a shootout, which a lot of teams, very few teams, I think, are confident in a shootout, honestly. There are obviously exceptions, but I know the Rangers actually play better in the overtime period than they do in the shootout. The Rangers, I think, are 1-3 in the shootout. They're 7-1 in actual overtime. like I think this is a good move by the Wild. A lot of people are like kind of being like, well, if this didn't work, and maybe bashing the coach today. And I'm like, I don't think I would. I think they know how important every point is. And I think he knows that he had a chance to end this game here and there. Why risk going to the shootout? Lee, what are your thoughts on the end of that game?
Yeah, look, Ray, one is you're absolutely right with your reasoning is like, they got to find ways to get points right now. And look, what most fans don't realize about OT and the shootout is it's a lottery at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like the odds are kind of not in your favor. There's no way to control it. You give me 3 periods, 5-on-5. That's a totally different monster than a 5-minute 3-on-3 in a shootout. So the first thing you got to do is look, this is a lottery. So now it's how can you increase your chances of winning the lottery? Well, you take big risks, you get big rewards. All right. I think there was a little bit of a shock value here. Nobody expected this.
Sure.
And you could see Nashville get really quickly like into penalty kill positioning, and like they just didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
Right. Now I will say it too. If the Wild mess up there, it's a goal, right? But I mean, they already got their point. It's a lottery, and you got to look at who's on the ice, right? So if I'm a coach, if I'm going to pull the goalie to go 4-on-3, I really have to have a grip on who is on the ice, who do we have, who do they have, and what does the matchup look like, right? And I guess I'm sure they've been planning this for a while, but the environment was correct. They did it and they scored. But it's not a tactic I would use a lot. Yeah. But here's the thing. The bigger question is, okay, are we going to start seeing this more regularly in the NHL? Because 3-on-3 has evolved a lot over the years. People always looking for a little bit of an edge on how to do that. This is a team that found the edge. But again, it all comes back to this notion. And again, if you don't agree with me, comment, right? We'll share this clip, right? Yeah. Overtime and the shootout is a lottery. It is not fair. I'm not saying I don't like it. It's not fair. It's not even.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm doing a shootout against a team with Connor McDavid, it's not fair. Right. It's just not. I don't know what to tell you. That doesn't mean they're going to win every game, but you take big risks, you get big rewards. The Wild took a big risk. They need to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this too, from a locker room standpoint, what that must feel like for them.
Oh, that team exploded. Yeah. You thought they had clinched the playoff berth with that win.
Yeah. They might have needed that.
Yeah. It could. That's the thing. It could be a momentum. They could jumpstart momentum in a big way for them because again, they're 6 points back of that last wild card, and they got to chase Vegas. They got to chase the Kings. They're 9 points back of Nashville. Like I mean, they got some good teams ahead of them that also reloaded and geared up right before the deadline.
Yeah, I'm also going to say this on a much broader scale. It's a real shame to me that the Minnesota Wild have never been in the Stanley Cup final. They've gotten as far as the conference final.
Yeah,
but this is the state of hockey. What is going on that you guys can't figure out a way to get that team further ahead? I mean, there's every reason to play there. Yeah. All right. Although I did think it was funny, Ray, that last weekend was the Let's Play Hockey Expo and High School Championship in Minnesota. So what happens there, for those of you who don't know, they sell out the Excel Arena for the high school games. This is how big high school hockey is in Minnesota. It's very comparable to football in Texas.
I was just about to make that
right. And so there was one night, these high school games are going on. They're selling out 20,000 people. And the actual Wild were playing in Arizona at the college stadium in front of thousands of people, right? Not tens of thousands, just thousands of people. It shows you the difference sometimes in Minnesota. But man, I kind of root for Minnesota sometimes. Like I wish the Wild would do unbelievable arena, unbelievable people, unbelievable fans, like even unbelievable jerseys. Like, come on, Minnesota, get it together. They shouldn't be struggling every year like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is they also have a ton of talent up there.
I know. I just really can't figure it out. It's amazing to me. I mean, look. I will also say this too. It's not like it's the easiest division in hockey. It's
no.
The Western Conference is very stacked right now.
Yes.
I would just like to see the Wild make a move that's not going to make them mediocre.
Absolutely.
They're very mediocre.
Well, and even at the deadline, they were kind of more sellers than they were buyers. Like,
right.
So
yeah, go ahead. I have one more thing when you're done here.
No, I mean, I was going to say, because it's like, here they are, you're the coach and the players, they obviously still believe themselves, make this high risk, like you said, high risk, high reward move in overtime. Really high risk.
Yeah.
But the GM was just kind of like sitting on his hands at the deadline, selling players.
Yeah. I'll tell you this too, just going back to the Eastern Conference, there's this huge bandwagon right now that I'm actually enjoying. People jumping on the Toronto Maple Leafs as a fake playoff team. And I don't usually do this, but I kind of agree. I also kind of want them to prove me wrong.
Sure.
But people love Toronto, but as a former GM, not NHL GM, but former GM and a hockey coach, You can't just stack your offense and win the Stanley Cup. Guys, listen to me. Fans, listen to me. It's not hard to coach against that team in the playoffs. You neutralize several people and the game is over.
Yeah.
Right? You look at the teams that win, you can neutralize their top line. Unfortunately, lines 2, 3, and 4 are going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't have them. Toronto is caught into these horrible contracts with these amazing players. That's how I say it. And they can't figure out. Even McDavid in Edmonton is starting to figure out, like, oh, I should probably have them surround me with more talent. And they're doing it. All right. Final NHL note, first team eliminated from the NHL playoff contention. Chicago Blackhawks were eliminated yesterday as we record this, which is painful, but I don't have any remorse because they have the greatest talent in the league potentially, and they will probably not be last place for long as they make moves this offseason, I'm sure, to surround Connor Bedard.
And have another lottery pick this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I also want to congratulate the San Jose Sharks on not being eliminated yesterday, but they will be eliminated today. So you did it. You did not come in last, last yet.
Yes, considering their start to the year where they were 10-1. Like
this is success to them. Like we weren't first. We weren't the first one eliminated.
Yes. Yeah. So
Sharks got to get it together, dude. That was brutal. Yeah. And again, the only reason they haven't been eliminated is because they have a game at hand on Chicago. So it's very well could have been them first.
Absolutely.
But I tease Chicago. I prod Chicago. Chicago Blackhawks are going to be a very good team here in a few years. There's just no way unless they somehow screw up Bedard staying there. But NHL now is primed. We are primed for the playoff push. Under 20 games to go, under 20% of the season, or about 20% of the season left to go. Buckle up, because NHL hockey is about to get really fun. That's my promo. Lee Elias, Fox Sports. See you next time.
We're not done, my friend. We're just getting started.
I thought this was a hockey podcast.
So we're going from the NHL. We're talking about deals, wheeling and dealing. We're going from the NHL trade deadline to NFL offseason. The NFL free agency period, technically it's called the tampering period, where basically teams are now allowed to talk with free agent players. Any deals that are negotiated will not be official until Wednesday when the official offseason kicks off. But so for 48 hours, but a lot of deals already being had and already being broken in the first few hours of this. A lot of QB moves, a lot of quarterback action. In fact, right before we went on, Gardner Minshew, the former Minshew dynasty in Philadelphia and Indianapolis and Jacksonville, now might be the starter over in Las Vegas as he signs a 2-year deal with the Raiders.
The Minshew dynasty deserves as many chances as actual dynasties do.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about football dynasties. I'm talking about the traditional dynasties of Asia long ago. Minshew is a gift. Minshew deserves to start many different places. I wouldn't even care.
He was a game away from getting the Colts into the playoffs last year.
It's amazing, isn't it? This guy doesn't get the respect he deserves. The Minshew dynasty continues.
He finds a way to win.
He finds a way to get signed.
Yeah, well, that too. A lot of guys finding ways to get signed. Russell Wilson officially is the new Pittsburgh Steelers likely starting quarterback.
That's going to be big for them. And we talked about this last week that anybody writing this guy off this guy deserves another chance. He's
Absolutely.
A Super Bowl champion.
Absolutely.
He deserves another chance.
100%. And I think with Mike Tomlin at the helm,
honestly,
I would be worried about Pittsburgh. I really would now with him at the helm. Like now, who knows? Maybe he ends up.
AFC, yeah.
Maybe he does fall apart. And again, the AFC is the net North division is stacked. The Browns are good. The Bengals with Joe Burrow coming back will be good. They were good last year, even with their backup.
Yeah. Russell Wilson has a reason now, though, man. I think he's dangerous.
Absolutely. Mac Jones, that era is over in New England. Traded to Jacksonville. He will compete for the backup spot with CJ Beathard. Former third-round pick of the Niners, as he is traded to Jacksonville. Mac Jones for a 6th-round pick. Man. Former 16th overall pick, traded for a 6th-round pick in this year's draft to Jacksonville. So how the mighty, or never really mighty, but really hopeful, have fallen.
Yeah.
The Bucs are to give Baker Mayfield a 3-year deal, which, boy, has he earned almost $120 million. About half of it's guaranteed. So good on Baker.
I like Baker Mayfield.
I was saying that when Cleveland was trying to run him out of town, the Giants should have got him. I have been a Baker Mayfield guy for a while. I have always liked his talent and his attitude. Yes, maybe a bit obnoxious, maybe a bit cocky, but you know what? To be an NFL quarterback, sometimes you need that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, have you heard Tom Brady talk? Oh, he can back it up. Like, well, okay, that doesn't negate the fact you want your guy to kind of be like that.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield has now taken 2 different franchises to playoff wins.
Yeah,
he took the Cleveland Browns to their first playoff win in like 2 decades, and then he took the Bucs filling in for Tom, taking over, filling Tom Brady's shoes, by the way, and then took the Bucs to a playoff win. And by the way, almost beat the Lions in the divisional round. They lost by, I think it was one possession. It was a 1-possession game. It got very close.
They could very well have gotten out of that round.
Yes, that Buck team led by Baker Mayfield. Sometimes he'll make an errant throw or two, but what quarterback doesn't? They believe in Baker. Now they believe that he's getting paid like they believe.
Let's not forget that team's just a few years removed from winning. This
winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty big loss with Brady not being there, but let's take it for what it is. You get a young quarterback, they can grow again.
Absolutely, especially in a very weak division. The Saints are not good. The Panthers are terrible.
Right.
And I don't care what anybody says. Now that the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins, I still don't see the Falcons being very good. The Falcons, 35-year-old Kirk Cousins, coming off another really rough injury, gets a 4-year, $180 million deal, $100 million guaranteed. What blackmail does he have on NFL GMs that Kirk Cousins keeps getting these mega deals? I don't get it.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it's very possible.
It's very possible in the NFL, but it is really weird. And now Sam Darnold is the front runner to be the Vikings quarterback. Vikings, do you want to talk about a rebuild? Sounds like Minnesota's going to be heading for a rebuild. Yeah. Full-blown rebuild now for Justin Jefferson. So
it's an interesting time. And then, Ray, you forgot a signing on there.
Yes, I know. I wanted to get all the quarterback. I wanted to get the quarterback news out of the way because that was a lot of other moves around the league.
I'm wearing blue for you today, buddy.
Honestly, actually, some stuff happened before we came on. First off, let's get it out of the way. Saquon Barkley signed a 3-year deal with the Eagles. He's going down the turnpike where he will stink up Philadelphia.
Ray, do you know where he played in college, Ray?
Penn State.
Penn State. Young man, come home. Let me tell you something. You want to know how I know this is a good move for the Eagles? And I'm going to be frank. I never expected him to sign here. But you want to know how I know this is a great move?
How?
Because the amount of Giants, Commanders, and Cowboys fans that have personally reached out to me to say, good luck with the injured guy. He's not going to do anything. He's going to be horrible. Philadelphia's going to suck. You guys suck.
If he stays healthy, Saquon is a very good back.
100%. And I'm sure that our team will take care of him better than the Giants team did.
Probably. Although I will say I was very happy the Giants did at least go out and sign free agent guard John Runyon Jr. today.
Yeah, big one.
The Giants are finally starting to build right. They're also trying to trade supposedly for Panther defensive end Brian Burns to, again, you win football in the trenches. So the Giants trying to bolster the defensive line and the offensive line is a good thing, even though he lost our safety, Xavier McKinney, to the Packers. The original report was he was going to be an Eagle. That made me sick. Because McKinney is a terrific safety, but that since then the NFL reporters have retracted that and say he is now going to be a Green Bay Packer, which also, I'm not going to lie, makes the Packers secondary very, very scary in my opinion. Right. But fortunately, their front seven still is meh. So
well, look, Eagles got a lot of moves they need to make. Obviously, with Jason Kelce retiring, our center position's wide open. Fletcher Cox retired, so Eagles going through a lot of changes to get some young blood there. What this means to the Eagles is they're not going to be a team that wins every single game next season, but they're going to be a very competitive team that's young and growing. So I'll be honest with you, though, Saquon Barkley coming to the Eagles it's a treat. That's a treat for us in a lot of different ways. And again, I spew the venom, NFC East. I can hear you. I will take it and I will play with it because it's awesome that he is here with us.
Again, DeAndre Swift, he's filling a full hole with DeAndre Swift. He went to the Bears on a 3-year deal. And supposed rumors that the Giants are trying to sign Boston Scott. They also signed Devin Singletary out of Houston, from the Houston Texans. So that's
Texas and Houston, correct?
Yes, Houston Texans.
Yeah, you won either way there. Yeah.
Yes. If the Giants were to get Boston Scott, that would be interesting to go with Devin Singletary, which isn't the worst backfield in the world, especially if
Look, it all comes down to how you play together. You know, at the end of the
Yes.
day, I don't care what team you are. I don't care what talent you have. If you can't find a reason to play together, you can't find a reason to move forward together, and you don't have extreme maximum belief that you can win, you ain't going to win anything. You're not going to win anything. It doesn't matter, right? So, you know, like I said, sometimes the best team does win the Super Bowl, but I actually don't think that happens every season, right?
No.
And I think that it comes down to a belief and want and what you need. And again, like the Kansas City Chiefs right now are the best team in the league, and there's a new dynasty being born there, but they believe in each other, and you can see it. You can see it so obviously. And the way people try and rip them apart shows you how tight that they are, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that can destroy Kansas City is Taylor Swift, and we're all counting on you.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to do it, though. I think at least not yet.
Happy. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hear wedding bells yet, but I also
what are people going to do if they get married and live happily ever after? Nobody's going to be able to accept it, right? They're just gonna, people are going to lose their minds. Like, you're not allowed to be happy. You can't have the Super Bowl and $1 billion and a Grammy win more. You can't do it, but you can. We'll see what happens. I'm not rooting for that to fail, by the way. I don't.
No, I'm not either. I actually would love to see it.
If you are, you're kind of an asshole.
Well, there's a lot of those out there, and as you know, it takes one to recognize them, and it just.
I'm pointing at you. You're pointing at me. No, you're not pointing at me. Okay, so I'm just you.
Yeah. But yeah,
can we talk about another asshole real quick, or do you have some more football? What about that segue?
Yeah, that's a great one. That is a great one. I'm just gonna go with it. We're just gonna go full steam ahead.
Let's talk about this asshole. This asshole.
Yeah. Jake Paul. Of the infamous Paul brothers, who Jake Paul loves beating up celebrities and all that other stuff and taking on, you know, elderly boxers. Is going to try and add another one to his list this summer as he takes on Iron Mike Tyson at 57 years old in an exhibition fight. And I'm going to say this. I actually think Tyson can whoop his butt still at 57.
Well, this is what I think, Ray. There's two things here. One, I still don't like what we're doing in boxing with these guys. I think that I think that Aaron Paul has done the right thing going to WWE because it makes sense there.
Logan Paul.
I meant to say Logan Paul, not Aaron Paul. I don't know why I did that. Yes, Logan Paul. I apologize. I don't like saying my son's name with somebody else's last name. Him moving to WWE made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense for what they're doing.
Absolutely.
What Jake Paul's doing still annoys the hell out of me, right?
Yes.
I think it's bad for boxing.
Yeah,
I think it's bad for the country.
I mean, right? You're admitting that boxing is basically a dying sport.
That's what you've done, right? And the other thing too is that I just don't like that, you know, actively rooting against the guy every time. But to their credit, they figured something out here on how to make a lot of money very quickly. Now, this is what I am going to tell you, Ray. And I don't think anyone would disagree with me on this, but obviously, if you do, let me know. Mike Tyson should kick his ass.
Yes.
There is no place in the world you're going to convince me that Mike Tyson cannot destroy this guy. All right.
Still at 57,
so if he doesn't, and I've never watched one of these Paul fights, to be fair. Right? I know they're athletes. I'm okay.
Well, that's the thing. I don't understand why people would pay $60, $70.
I don't either. Well, this one's just going to be on Netflix.
Well, and I wanted to bring that up. Yeah. I think this is smart in a lot of ways because they're putting this one on Netflix. Yeah. So there's already a built-in audience. Plus, 100%. Netflix is using it to start getting people used to watching sports on Netflix.
Live sports. We talked about this. Yes. Yeah, we talked about this happening. But the last thing I'll say on the actual sports side of this before we get to the next Netflix side of it is this. If Mike Tyson does not knock this bastard out, I've lost it for boxing. It's done. I have nothing left for boxing at that point. I have no respect for it, right? I don't want to see these fights, right? I will respect boxing if Mike Tyson TKOs Jake Paul.
Yeah,
I mean that TKO. All right, I want him out. I want it like the video game. Yeah. I want him out. And yes, does age play a factor? Sure. I've seen Mike Tyson training though. There's no reason that he should not win this fight. And again, if he doesn't win, it's rigged. There's no place in the world do I think that Jake Paul can legitimately beat Mike Tyson at any point in his life. I think he was 100 years old and they wheeled him out there.
Yeah.
All right. So Mike, I love you, man. I really hope you knock this guy out. I hope you become a hero. In a weird way, this would be the greatest sunset move in history for you with everything you've been through. But yeah. And then Ray, as you said, it is on Netflix. We talked about this. These streaming services are getting into live sports. This is going to be a heavily watched event.
Yes.
A heavy payday for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a great it's good on Netflix. I mean, this is something they needed to do.
Yeah.
Right? And if I'm not mistaken, the WWE is coming to Netflix too. So
that's the thing is, as I was saying, this is kind of warming them up for WWE, which starts January of 2025.
There you go.
So and that's when the entire WWE library and then Monday Night Raw every Monday will be live on Netflix.
Yeah.
Big deal.
And at the end of the day look, sports are entertainment.
Yes.
But boxing has gone more entertainment now than sport. And
100%.
I hope that Tyson knocks this kid out. And look, it's not because I don't like Jake Paul. It's a mockery of boxing.
Yeah.
All right. Like they parade this kid's record like he's had legitimate opponents.
No, he's very few. Very few.
Oh, he's won a few of them legitimately for sure. But this is ridiculous. You get you don't have to Tyson, you better knock him out.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned WWE. We're doing a thing now here. We got a couple of
who's Aaron Paul? Why did I call that name? That was weird.
I don't know. Wasn't he on Breaking Bad?
Yes, that's what it is. I think you're right. Right. Magnets, bitch.
Yeah.
So watch the show I'm talking about, and people in my office right now are like, "What?
Yeah, we'll get into Hollywood, a little bit more Hollywood later. But first, a little bit of wrestling. A couple of folks wanted to hear some fantasy booking.
People requested this of you, Ray, and I believe that you're a very smart person to listen to. I think you understand the ebbs and flows of the WWE and professional wrestling. So, without further ado, we're going to create the Pure Life Ray's predictions segment here with our non-sponsor.
Yeah. So first off, we're recording on a Monday. It's March 11th, so Monday Night Raw has not happened yet. And there's a lot happening on tonight's Raw. So it's kind of like they call it giving me the pencil. I have the pencil, like I was a booker. And why is it always a pencil? Because the card is always subject to change. But if I was the booker, this is what I would do going out into WrestleMania.
You are the booker right now.
Yes.
You are the booker.
Yes. Less than a month to go before WrestleMania. We now know some of the main event matches. We know The Rock and the Tribal Chief. Roman Reigns will have a tag match on night 1 against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, and then on night 2, it'll be Cody versus Roman, possibly depending on who wins the tag match with possible stipulations. And then, of course, you're going to have Seth Rollins defend his World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. Get the easy one right out of the way. Seth Rollins should lose to Drew at WrestleMania. Seth, we know, has been nursing injuries now for several weeks. And I think that this is a time for him to lose the title clean, not lose any face, and then go away for maybe the summer, maybe Money in the Bank, rest up, heal up, take a break, spend some time with the family, with the baby or whatnot, because Becky's going to still be wrestling. And yeah, I think that's it. And also, and here's the thing, I'll say this also, Drew McIntyre should win it, and Damian Priest should cash in Money in the Bank on him and immediately take it away. And then this way, while Seth is recovering, those two can feud for a while. And they can carry that title for a bit until Seth comes back to help with that picture. Other things going on in wrestling is it seems like they're building towards a U.S. Championship triple threat match at WrestleMania between the current U.S. champion, Logan Paul, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. I do think Logan Paul should lose the title at Mania. I think he should lose it to Kevin. They continue to feud. I think that's just to make sure Randy has a match at WrestleMania until this whole world title, WWE title thing clears up a bit. And then I think they need to put Randy going back after the title. Once Cody wins the title at Mania, that has to be said. Cody has to finish the story this year at WrestleMania. People who are like, oh, but what if they kick it to SummerSlam? No. It has to happen now. Roman Reigns, his record. But what about catching Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan is third on the list. It doesn't matter. By the way, they've brought Hulk Hogan back into the WWE fold. He was at the Royal Rumble. He did all the vignettes. He's a huge part of the new video game with the history of WrestleMania, because the history of WrestleMania is also the history of Hulkamania, brother. So I would honestly, Cody has to win. Cody is then going to need people to feud with. The two people he should feud with, I would have Randy turn heel again, and I would have Randy go against Cody, go back, because again, also Randy said he's coming back. He's only 43. Randy wants to break Ric Flair's record. Randy has said that. He needs 2 title reigns to tie, 3 to take the lead. Randy he's only 43. As long as he stays healthy, Orton can do that. help elevate Logan Paul, help elevate the U.S. Championship for the next few weeks, and then go back into the title picture once Cody has the title belt. The other person Cody should feud with is the ring general, Gunther. His buddy Ludwig, that's exactly how he sounds. Sort of. Pretty close. But when he introduces him. Gunther should drop the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Gunther now has every record possible around the Intercontinental title in terms of the longest title reign, and also the most combined days. He surpassed Pedro Morales' record of over 600 days now as the Intercontinental Champion in one reign. It's time for him to drop that title. And again, the reason why I mentioned Raw tonight is tonight we will find out the number one contender for the Intercontinental title match in a six-man gauntlet match. And my money is on Chad Gable. He has the most emotional story. He wants it. He has done everything WWE has asked of him. The Intercontinental Championship is historically been on the hardest worker. That stopped for a while, but it's back to that now after what Gunther has done the last 2 years. Put it on Gable. This way you have a face as the IC title holder, and now Gunther is another heel that's freed up that can go into the main title picture because, again, you use the Intercontinental Championship as a stepping stone to get to the World Championship. Gunther, Orton, and Cody Rhodes then can feud while Roman and Rock feud for head of the table for a while. That's what I would do there. Let's see.
Through SummerSlam for Rock and Roman.
Absolutely, yes.
Then Rock has to promote Moana too.
Well, the thing is that's why honestly I think that Rock is going to actually turn on Roman at some point because I think this way he turns face again.
Yeah.
Right. So because like you said, I agree completely that by Moana 2 in November he has to be a good guy again.
Right.
They've started to promote other talent from NXT. Braun Breaker to me also. Have him feud with whoever wins have him feud with Kevin Owens. Or if they keep it on Logan Paul, even have him feud with Logan Paul, Braun Breaker, start his journey. One day he will be a world championship. He is an athletic freak. He is the son of a Steiner. He has wrestling in his blood. Start him on his journey now. You've put him on the roster. Have him go after the U.S. Championship post-Mania. The Judgment Day should drop the tag titles to the Awesome Truth. Miz and R-Truth can do so much for those titles. They are so ridiculously over right now. And I think it's also time to start thinking about breaking up Judgment Day. And again, especially if Priest goes and gets the World Championship, he's not going to need Judgment Day anymore. And I think that Finn Balor is another guy that you can put again in. And that too, you could have Finn feud with Priest and Drew. These are guys who can be in a singles gold picture and haven't been for a while because they've been trying so hard to help elevate. I don't want to say lesser titles, but trying to elevate lesser titles. It's time to put Finn back into the World Championship picture as well. Let's go, WWE. Let's go. Start using your newer talent to win the lesser titles and start developing again. And that note, let me also just add for the women, Rhea Ripley should beat Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. This way it solidifies her reign of over a year. Becky does not need the title. Becky is a made woman. She doesn't have to have the title on her. Whereas Rhea continuing her reign at least until SummerSlam, I think is a good idea. And again, speaking of putting new talent over, you have the amazing-looking Jade Cargill. You have the amazing-looking Tiffany Stratton, who stole the show at Elimination Chamber. Have them go either after Rhea or Bayley, who should beat Io Sky at Mania for the title, just because as much as I like Io as a wrestler, she can't cut a promo. And everybody knows that if you can't cut a promo, you shouldn't be the champion. You shouldn't have a long championship reign. I'm sorry. There's a language barrier there. She really only speaks Japanese. Phenomenal wrestler. But if you can't cut a promo, you can't be the champion, in my opinion. And now that you have Dakota Kai supposedly as the mouthpiece, to me, Dakota Kai's being wasted in that. And now Bayley is no longer her mouthpiece either. Give the title to Bayley. And then whoever, either Tiffany and Jade, whoever decides to go after Rhea, the other one should go after Bayley. This way you have older talent, more established talent, lifting up younger talent. The chase is there. The story is there. The hunger is there. That is what WWE should do over the next 4 to 6 months. I'm done. Pencils down.
Well, Ray, clearly are not educated about wrestling in any way, nor do you like take the time to learn about it. Complete sarcasm there. Look, great predictions. This is where I get to come in and give wild, ridiculous predictions for long-term storylines because I can do that, and it doesn't matter to me if I'm wrong. I've got 2 crazy ones for you. One is a pipe dream that won't happen, but I'd love to see it happen. Yeah. I'm going to stick by my guns with this, though. I believe another Attitude Era megastar is going to show up at some point. And I believe it will be at WrestleMania.
There have been rumors that Stone Cold will come back in some capacity.
I would love it if The Rock goes so heel that Stone Cold, The Undertaker, and pick someone else, Mick Foley, come out and grab him and drag him to hell. and then that is the last time we see him for a long time. Right? How epic would that be if they just come out and say, "You come with us," and then they just take him away, right?
That would be awesome. I don't think we're gonna get all of those guys.
I don't either, but I do think that
Stone Cold possibly as a special guest referee or as somebody just in Cody's corner.
Look, they need an Attitude Star to meet the Attitude Star. That's what's going to have to happen because look, The Rock's not going to put himself out there to the point he's going to ruin his body.
No.
Right. So I think there's going to be some story of another Attitude Star will come back to save the day in some form. But I just love this idea of his brethren honestly coming out and dragging him away. Like that's it for you right now. So that's one pipe dream. The other one, this one's even more unbelievable. What if we go through all this storyline and WWE wants us to have a big bang? Like now, look, if Cody wins the championship and that is the end of that story, I'm cool with it. People want that. I don't think anybody doesn't want that.
No.
But what would you do? This is really out there. If Rhea Ripley wins the World Heavyweight title out of nowhere, if she comes in and the women's division merges with the men's division in some way and wins that title, it would be so out of nowhere. People would lose their minds. It's the only
they would lose their minds in a bad way, Lee.
I know it. I kind of want it to happen. But no, it won't happen. It doesn't make sense to split up the 2 divisions, but that would be amazing if she.
It would be amazing in a way that it would definitely be unprecedented. But I don't think, and I think that Rhea, unlike China back in the day, actually can wrestle whoever, whenever.
That's what I think too. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's years in the future. But Rhea is really what China should have been in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about with our friend Savi at New to Wrestling podcast the other day that, she really is what China should have become. But the WWE was not ready at that time. We're going to have to share this whole segment with Xavier over there at New to Wrestling so they can comment back to us. So we're looking forward to that interaction. But look, I told you these are wild, crazy predictions. But my guess is, Cody will win. Just because he has to, right?
We have after last year, you have to finish the story now.
Yeah. And I think The Rock will play a major role in that. But I'm going to say it again. I think another major Attitude Star is going to be heavily involved in this at some point out of nowhere.
I would bet on Stone Cold.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? Right now, he can't wrestle either, so it's going to be really interesting to see. He could probably do a stunner or two, but that's about it.
I mean, he could do a little. Remember, he's only 2 years removed. He came back and had a quote unquote true farewell match against Kevin Owens just 2 years ago in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
I don't think he can do what The Rock could do. I don't think he could. Right. I mean, to be fair, if Triple H didn't have a heart condition, I think actually it'd be Triple H.
Oh yeah, who would probably come back. He can't at all, right? I mean,
he can't. He takes a bad bump and he'll die. Yeah. Like it's him and Taz have Taz is the same way. Like they'll die basically. They can't do it anymore. Like Stone Cold, I think could easily still take a few bumps.
For sure.
But I don't think he can do a full match.
No,
but
that's why I think drag The Rock away. Just drag him away.
I think on the outside, if suddenly The Rock and Stone Cold just trading right hands and then a stunner, I think you could absolutely have that.
Absolutely. Right. And then I think too that with Roman, I don't think they're gonna have an I Quit match or anything like that. But I believe that in real world, like Dwayne Johnson would hand that torch to his family. But I think it's going to take a lot of convincing. But anyway, Ray, that was well done.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I think that's what the idea was with The Rock coming back is that if there wasn't such a blowback about Cody not finishing the story this year after being denied last year, I think the idea was I think the WWE, just like they dragged their feet with some of these ideas and now they wanted to try and make up for it if The Rock, I think the idea was for The Rock to lose to Roman at Mania originally,
right,
and pass the torch. Now it feels it's more
SummerSlam.
I think Rock will screw Roman. Cody will finish the story. Rock and Roman at like SummerSlam, and that's when The Rock passes the torch.
Yeah, of course. And look, here's the real win. We always switch this to business. Who are we not talking about right now? What wrestling federation are we not talking about right now?
AEW.
All right, so the WWE has done it. And we talked about this right when we started the show about how AEW is coming back strong.
Yeah.
And we said it, like you said, they will find a way, and they have completely found a way. No one's talked about anything other than WWE. So they did it. They did exactly what we thought they would do in the midst of the greatest, biggest scandal they've ever had.
Yep.
Like, I don't think people are realizing what they're doing. No one's talking about Vince either.
Nope.
Like, it's amazing what they've done here from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, Dwayne Johnson saved wrestling. He did.
In some ways, yeah. Right? I mean, look, AEW does. I mean, they're going to have Sasha Banks debut with them this week on Wednesday night. Which, honestly, I will say this: the AEW women's division is stacked. Tony Khan needs to start giving the women in his federation more time.
Yeah.
Because I would argue the women are a better draw right now than the men. He has the most. I would say the women's roster in AEW is comparable to the women's roster in WWE.
Sure.
And they're being underutilized. And they just took Okada out of Japan and turned him heel. And now they're doing the corporate elite. And it's just like, oh, Tony, why are you copying WWE? Like, it is so blatantly obvious that you just took the biggest star out of New Japan and put him into a corporation. It's bad. It's bad. It's not bad. It just feels like we've seen this before.
It's not new.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's predictable, and that's worse than being bad in some ways in wrestling. So, but we'll talk a little bit more about AEW maybe next week. We'll see how Sasha debuts. I will say this: AEW had a big moment. Sting officially retired. He had his retirement match. He went out on top as a tag team champion in AEW. AEW really treated him right, more than WWE did. He went 29-0 in his AEW career, truly going out as an icon. It was a terrific last match. Good for Sting. You know, I mean, he's getting a second chance to really go out. Yeah, to really go out on top. And I will say that at least AEW did him right more than WWE did. So, but it is.
Are we about to transition to the geek segment?
Yeah, now we're going to geeks now. Yeah.
Oh, but before we do that, enjoy this little segment. Ray, that was a wrestling segment of you and me as wrestlers. I don't know what the audience is going to do with that. I don't know what you're going to do. You haven't seen it, but I've seen it in my mind, and you're going to love it.
I cannot wait.
Thank you to our producer and editor for putting that in.
Yes, thank you, producer Caitlin, for getting more work here on the floor.
Editor Xavier's got a ring to it.
Oh,
check this out, Xavier. Do you like the nickname Editor Xavier? He says, "Sure, it's in."
Awesome. Fantastic.
We're a team here, Ray.
Editor Xavier, and producer Caitlin.
Yeah. Did that live on the air.
Do your magic. So, speaking of magic, movie magic.
Movie magic.
So, the Oscars were this weekend, and not too surprising. Oppenheimer.
They were? I'm just kidding. They were.
Yes. Oppenheimer cleaned up, nominated for 13 categories, won 7 of them, including the big one.
Scorsese ignored again.
Yes.
11 nominations, no wins.
No, he's got to win. Scorsese.
No, I meant the movie Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, Killers of the Flower Moon. People don't want 3 hour. Well, I mean, Oppenheimer was a 3-hour movie, but people really don't want 3-hour movies anymore.
No, they don't. I just think that his films are so visceral now, and the way that they're made, it's kind of like what's his name, Tarantino. Like people just don't give praise for these films. But it's okay. Oppenheimer's a great film. It totally deserved everything.
Absolutely. Christopher Nolan gets his first Oscar after 8 nominations.
Should have won one before. Yeah.
Yeah. Did he win one before?
He should have won before.
He should have. Yes, he should have. Yes. No, I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that. In some ways, it feels like the Oscars sometimes are makeups. Like, I feel like,
that's why I hate him.
Awards, even Robert Downey Jr. I mean, I said this on last week's episode. I don't think he was the best performance, but this is more like, hey, here's an Oscar this year for thanking you for being Iron Man and for building your life back together. And
not to mention, he doesn't care anymore.
No,
I mean, his acceptance speech Not that he didn't have a lot of gratitude for it and appreciate it, but it was very much like, I don't need this anymore. This is not how I identify anymore. Where I don't know. And again, he did give a really great performance. I can see why he won. But I'm with you on this.
Yeah, but I don't. But I could have seen a lot of other ones win for this one too. And I will say that probably the best part of his speech was the obvious love for his wife.
Massive love for his wife.
Yes,
and you know what? I want to give him credit for that, because not enough men say how much they love their wives. I say how much I love my wife all the time publicly. Yep. Right. So I think that was actually a real moment of strength for him. And not again, Ray, I know you're not married right now, but my point is not that you ever were. I don't know why this is hard to say. My point is, I give him a lot of credit for publicly saying he loves his wife. I think it's okay for us to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was great I think, his speech was, like you kind of said, I don't want to say almost flippant, but kind of just like, okay, cool. Thank you. I really appreciate it. But hey, I really, really love my wife. And thanks for the people around me who stood by me when I had some really tough times. Even when Jimmy Kimmel was making some really bad jokes about my drug use in the past. But Jimmy Kimmel, by the way, getting
horrible joke.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing.
I'm not a Kimmel fan, just to be honest with you. I don't.
Neither am I, but I will say this: the first joke, here's the thing: the first joke, it didn't land, and then he doubled down anyway, and that's where the mistake was. It's like, look, not every joke is going to land, especially in a live setting like that.
Right.
Don't double down.
Right. It wasn't.
You got to read the room, man. Got to read the room. In my opinion. But yeah, anyway, I mean, Kimmel was fine for the most part. I mean, the best segment was, honestly, for him anyway, was working with Naked John Cena. So
right. I just think that he's such a fraud to me, Kimmel. Like, and it's such a hypocrite doing the man show for all those years and not ever addressing that, and then acting holier than thou. I never got that. And I don't particularly think he's that funny, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think he's very funny either. I honestly, I've never watched Kimmel on his late night show. Like, I don't care who his guests are. I just look. I've always been an NBC guy. I was a Leno guy. I was a Conan guy. I was a Leno guy again. And then even I'm not a huge Jimmy Fallon guy, but I'd rather watch Jimmy Fallon than Jimmy Kimmel. Honestly, I'm more of a Stephen Colbert guy. Honestly.
I like Fallon. I think Colbert has his beliefs and he's unabashedable. He believes in his beliefs, and I can respect that. Like, he comes across he's extremely educated.
He is very intelligent and very educated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, and you're right. He's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, because some of those beliefs may rub folks the wrong way. But for those of us who don't care, I think he's very funny, and I think he's very articulate. I think, whereas Jimmy Fallon tries to be more the everyman, and then Jimmy Kimmel is just Disney's whore. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't watch a show. He has a funny segment here or there, and usually it's relying on the stars and not him. And he always plays the idiot. I mean, he did that with John Cena last night. Like, he plays the idiot in the sketch. Right. I just think he's an idiot. That's just me personally.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, he's not my cup of tea. If you like him, great. It just,
I don't like him.
No, yeah, but for the other folks out there, again, I'm not here. We're not here to yuck your yum. We're just all about the yum. That's just not our yum. That's all.
That's not sure.
Like, I'm just saying. Like,
no, I'm with you.
Yeah. But anyway, the Oscars. Otherwise, Al Pacino trended because Al Pacino basically wanted to get the heck out of there as fast as possible, and was just like, instead of listing the nominees, was just kind of like, all right, and the winner is Oppenheimer. All right, let's get out of here. Like, people were like, did Al Pacino screw up? And I'm like, no, I think he just didn't really want. He's an 83-year-old man or whatever. Just didn't want to be there doing this. Reminded, by the way, that it was 50 years ago that he did Godfather 2. I'm sure that made him feel great.
I don't think people realize what it means to get up, get dressed, get out of your house, go to the Oscars, and then present when you're 83.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how hard it is at that age. I'm not saying that 83-year-olds, you can't do this. My father's 83. He's a workhorse, man. But it's not the easiest thing in the world to get up and go move around. And my dad works out. Like, he's in incredible shape. And I'm saying, I'm proud of him, but like, he's 83.
Yeah.
Right? It's not
Pacino was good for 83. I hope I look that good at 83.
I'm sure he's a very healthy 83 too, but it's like,
you just had a baby.
He's healthy. Yeah. No, I said, what are you guys doing? Like, first off, that's not who I would have put up there.
No.
All right. There's a lot of other people that you could put up there that would do that. I'm sure De Niro said no.
Because he was nominated, but but that's the thing. Like, it's also, 50th anniversary of Godfather 2, you could have done that through any, myriad of other categories, not the end of the 3.5-hour show for the 83-year-old man, who will be 84 next month, actually. I didn't realize he's also a fellow April baby. So,
hey, happy birthday to Dunkachino.
Yes, that's probably. It looked like that's what he needed. He needed a Dunkachino to give him a little extra pep in his step.
Call me Dunkachino.
Yeah, I'll say this though, he kept them on time. The Oscars were going to go over again, and then Dunkachino, Al Pacino doing his thing was just like, all right, that's the winner. Let's leave. Let's go party. Let's go.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah. But I will say, to me, the best moment of the night, by far, was Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito on stage again, getting ready to promote Twins 2, probably.
Well, they did without doing it.
Exactly. Basically talking about their time as Batman villains, almost like a support group, and then realizing, quote unquote, realizing, right, really probably knowing the whole time, that Michael Keaton was there in the front row, and he's like, there's Batman, you son of a bitch. You have the nerve showing. Yeah, it's just so perfect. And then Michael Keaton immediately stowed Batman face, and it's like,
what's funny is I've never seen him do the face without the cowl on.
Yes.
Which was because he looks awkward, and I'm like, oh no, my God, that's the face without the mask.
Yeah.
And it was so well done, and thus proving again who Batman is. He's the last person to play Batman now. He is Batman.
Yes.
And he is the greatest Batman there has ever been.
Yes, and if Warner Brothers could ever get out of their own way, they should do a Batman Beyond with him as old man Batman.
I do not understand why that has not happened. I wish Warner Brothers would sell them so it can happen. I know that it can happen. It should happen. It's obvious. It would revitalize Batman. Please, for the love of Alfred, make this movie.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get into our almost weekly tradition of bashing Warner Brothers a little bit later in the show.
Yes, we need more than a bus for them now.
Yes,
we need Mike Tyson.
Yes, it's getting ridiculous. But obviously, the Oscars are on ABC. ABC is owned by Disney, and you know who else is owned by Disney? The X-Men.
Marvel. Yeah.
Marvel. Dun, dun, dun. The X-Men '97 full release schedule came out last week. It kicks off
a TV
March
guide. They did another
brilliant promotion. They're really leaning into this. I love it.
I just realized some of the younger people might not know what TV Guide is.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no, it's a magazine. The way we used to find out what was coming on the TV was there was a magazine that came out and you had to look at that. Yeah. In fact, nowadays I guess you don't even have to do that. You just go stream and pick something. Wow.
Pretty much.
Wow. Old man Elias, old man Carcillo.
Yeah.
Hoo-ha! Let's get out.
Hoo-ha! Yeah. But yeah, so it kicks off on March the 20th. We knew that. It's kicking off with first two episodes. To Me, My X-Men is the title of the very first new episode. And the second one is Mutant Liberation Begins. Obviously sounds like a very Magneto-heavy couple of episodes.
Man, they're going to do House of M, I'm telling you.
Yep. Maybe we'll see. And then third episode, Fire Made Flesh. And then I don't know if it's a fourth episode or it's another two-parter. It's Motendo / Life Death Part 1.
Interesting.
Then there's another one, April 10th, called Remember It.
Yep.
April 17th, Life Death Part 2.
Yeah, there's two sequenced parts of this season.
Yes. And then Bright Eyes. And then to conclude the season, 3 weeks in a row, Tolerance is Extinction Part 1, 2, and 3. The season finale, May the 15th. So we're going to have almost 2 full months of X-Men 97. And I cannot wait.
I can't either. This is a brilliant move. I hope it works. I hope that the story is good. I'm sure it will be. This is a calculated risk. They've been developing this for years. I'm very excited. We will probably do week by week reviews, right?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
To Me, My X-Men.
Yeah, no, I am so excited. First off, that week alone is going to be massive for us because it is X-Men 97 and Ghostbusters Afterlife coming out the same, not Afterlife, excuse me, Frozen Empire. Afterlife was
heavy weekend.
Yeah. It is going to be great. It's going to be absolutely great. You know what wasn't great?
Well, depends how you pitch what you're about to pitch. I'll put it that way.
Madam Web was not.
Well, it's turned into the greatest marketing in history, flipping it over into one of the worst movies ever and now becoming a cult classic. saw a resurgence at the box office, Ray, because it was so bad.
It's so bad that people are curious about seeing it now.
Yeah, they're laughing the whole way.
Yeah, but Dakota Johnson, of course, is one of the stars of the film.
I have not seen it. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
I refuse to give money for it. If it's that bad, I'll watch it on TV.
I'll pay for if I really have to, I'll pay $4 when it's rentable.
I'm not paying for it when Dune is out. Like there's no way. Dune will get my money because it's Dune.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not giving something that bad my money when it has no effect on the larger universe.
Yeah, no, it's been a disaster. And Dakota Johnson she's taking her lumps for it. She's like, look, yeah, it was a mistake. It was a paycheck. It's a bad film. And again, folks, by the way, yeah, a lot of actors, sometimes they don't read the script. They just hear like maybe who's attached to it and the title. And then they're like, how much money? And they just jump on board.
To be fair, no one should be mad at Dakota Fanning. Dakota Johnson, excuse me. Yeah. Dakota Fanning's another actress. Dakota Johnson, you should be mad at Sony.
Yes.
For 10 years of crap.
Yes.
And what did you expect this
desperately trying to hold on to the rights of these ancillary Marvel / Spider-Man characters.
Yeah, horrible.
It's just horrible. Awful. There were folks trying to defend Sony, being like, well, I mean, she's trashing the film. Like, shouldn't Sony be mad? It's like, no, Sony should make a better movie. They should hire better writers, better producers, better directors.
It's not like the story's not out there. All right. It was dumb. It was dumb to do this. It was dumb to do Morbius. It was dumb to do a lot of the films.
Michael Keaton was trashing Morbius again yesterday. It was great. Yeah. Like he's like, I still have no idea what Morbius is about. I was in it. Like,
yeah,
like it's Sony has screwed up, and now they are trying to pass the buck and pass the blame onto other folks. When it's the actors, by the way, have the least amount of control over anything that happens aside from saying the lines and basically just like making sure they look good.
Yeah.
Like
also, I don't know why Dakota Johnson was cast in this film.
Again, I don't know why I don't know why any of these people were cast in this film. I don't know why this film was made.
Nobody does. In fact, when they announced it, I said, but why?
Yeah.
It's not going to work in the larger Spider-Verse at this point. What are you doing?
Madam Web is such a D-level character in Spider-Man lore. I'm sorry. She doesn't deserve her own film.
Well, Sony disagreed with you, Ray, and I'm sure that they've actually made money on this film now. That the fans have somehow saved them.
I don't know about that.
I bet you they broke even. I don't
know. I'd have to crunch the numbers, but boy, oh boy.
Can you give me a number crunch real quick? Sure. That you know what this film was? Leroy Jenkins. That's what that was. At least I have chicken.
Oh God. I'm curious now. I'm curious now to see. So it was made. It cost them $80 million.
Yeah, I bet you they made their money back. They're going to when it comes to streaming. I guarantee it.
Maybe. Yeah. You know what? Here's the thing. The sad thing is the box office. They made $96 million.
I told you that the fans saved that film. That film made money.
I mean, well, here's the thing. It depending on how much promotion they put into it, they could have spent upwards of.
They probably broke even, but when it comes on streaming, everyone is going to watch it because it's so bad.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that film somehow made money. And this is why dumb movies like that get made.
Makes me sick. I hate Sony. I hate Warner Brothers. I hate them.
Well, let's trash Warner Brothers because, they're just ruining everything. Everything. Yeah.
So real quick, Warner Brothers.
Just wouldn't have been hard for them to not do this, but go ahead.
So for a couple of years there, Warner Brothers had an independent publishing label called Adult Swim Games. Obviously, they have the rights to all that and whatnot. They made some really good games, including a game called Headlander that yours truly gave a 9 out of 10 back at EGM in 2016.
The authority on gaming results is Ray Carcillo.
It was a Tim Schafer game. The humor's there. It's actually, if you love Metroidvanias like I do, I don't know if you're going to be able to. I was going to say check it out. You might not be able to anymore because Warner Brothers is going through the process now of anything that was under the Adult Swim banner of completely delisting it. And a lot of the deals were signed were that the developers, if anything like this were to happen, were supposed to get the rights to their games. It literally takes 3 clicks on most console and PC backends to move things over. It could literally take an intern a day to do it. Maybe not even, maybe a half a day. They can do it on their lunch break. And instead, Warner Brothers is just going to kill it and just be like, oh, well, it's just easier just to pull the plug. This is, and by the way, I'm glad to see that all developers are now lawyering up, and they're going to try and at least force Warner Brothers just to give them the games, because it's absolutely ridiculous that, again, Warner Brothers, instead of just putting in the most minimal of efforts to save these games, to let them continue to exist, because, again, they're only a few years old. Again, they all came out in 2016 and 2018. They're not that old. And Warner Bros. Is just like, we don't care. Screw you, gamers. You hate our movies? Now you're going to hate us for our games, because we're Warner Brothers. And we want to burn the house down, baby. That's what we're all about. We're Warner Brothers. We hate everything. It's just, I can't anymore. I just can't.
This is what kills me, Ray, is that with the properties that they have, they could have turned this around and made billions, just billions. Like, I understand cuts need to be made. I'm a business owner. I do get it, okay? And there's some things that do need to be taken away. But look, even like Acme versus Coyote, or Coyote versus Acme, I forgot what order that was in.
I think it's Coyote versus Acme, but it's
like,
yeah.
You accidentally built up enough hype for that.
Yeah. And
ruined it.
Yeah.
You have literally, I mean, this is so true, what I'm about to say. And again, people might argue with me, but it's true. You have the most successful cinematic comic book heroes in history. Yeah. Marvel in the last 15 years has been in this run.
Sure.
Okay, but it's not 45 years like Superman has been on film. Again, I know this isn't all WB, but I'm saying you have the most iconic cinematic superheroes in the game. You can't make that work. You can't make that work. Not to mention, you've got Looney Tunes. You can't make this work.
You know, I don't think it's that they can't. I think they don't want to.
That's what I'm trying to say. And that's why, I'm surprised that the leadership there is still there. I do think this will flip one day. All right. But it's like you cannot make this work. What kind of leadership do you have there? It doesn't make any sense. You have a hatchet man, obviously.
It's not leadership. Yeah, he's just a hatchet man.
All right.
That's all Zaslav is.
I mean, I can't believe that they have not flipped the script on this and made the biggest comeback in history, because it could be done. Now they're praying James Gunn does it. All right. But he's behind the 8 ball already. I know. I have no faith in WB. And again, I'll say it again. This is a beloved property of our childhood. Beloved.
Yeah.
That we hate. I mean, it's amazing what they've done to get to this point. And again, taking away Adult Swim games. Like, okay. Another one bites the dust.
Yeah, I mean, for no reason. I get that they haven't, again, as a publisher, that you don't have them. But your video game department, by the way, Warner Brothers had one of the biggest video games of the year last year in Hogwarts Legacy. They then also had one of the worst flops of the last 12 months with Suicide Squad, which is a live service game versus a more single-player experience.
By the way, nobody talked about that after it was released. Nobody.
Right. No, it died. It died. It's horribly. It is already considered one of the biggest flops of history.
Yeah.
And their new CEO of the gaming division was like, or new president of the gaming division was like, we know Suicide Squad flopped, but we're going to try and keep doing this. Instead of doing the single-player game that sold 24 million units and was beloved last year for Harry Potter. What are you doing?
Nice.
I am not a businessman. And even I'm like, the 24 million times $70 sounds like a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh, I have such a headache.
Don't have a headache, Ray. Let's keep going on. We've got other things we can talk about.
So many stupid people. Oh, Lee, I see stupid people.
Well,
here in LA,
you're on planet Earth.
So. Here in LA, all the stupid people.
They're not just there, buddy. They're not just there.
I know, but it feels like they're concentrated here, and they're all in Burbank at Warner Brothers.
It does. Outside looking in, it does kind of feel like that sometimes over here too. We look at you and like, what are you doing? There you go. Ray's meditating. Hey, good thing you got rid of the plastic bags. Anyway, Ray, I want to talk about EA.
Yes, let's get into some sports games. This is actually like an interesting story. Not really a bad thing or a good thing, just interesting. EA Sports, of course, the college football 25 game, the first college football game in 11 years. Finally, after all of the name, image, and likeness stuff has finally been worked out. Obviously, there were a lot of lawsuits. And it's basically working out that EA is paying every player $600 for their name, image, and likeness to be in college football. The player just has to opt in. There are a couple of notable folks who, for some curious reason, aren't opting in because I guess they don't like money.
Well, they can make more.
Maybe Arch Manning of Texas, the backup quarterback, and obviously the next in the Manning line. He will be the starter someday, just not next year. Is not opting in on this, but so basically EA has said they are paying out a total. I think it's you do the math. I think it's 10,000 players times $600. So they are paying $6 million into college football in the name, image, likeness this year. And honestly, it's great. It's great. I think it's a win-win for everybody. People have wanted the real players in the game forever. And I think that this is a fair deal for all the players. I think it's exciting for them to be in a video game, especially think of all the players who won't go pro, right? To the idea that that they would not have a chance to be in like a Madden or something. And this is something that maybe down the line they can show their kids or their grandkids. Hey, I was in a video game. I was in college football 25. They gave me $600 for it. Like, I don't know. I think this is just a good thing and good on EA. EA's wanted to pay the money for years. It's just always been a matter of the NCAA rules. And now the game is coming back. The NCAA rules have changed. And EA's paying out for these players for this year to get $600 a pop.
Yeah, Ray, I go back and forth on NIL. I'm all for it. I don't like what it's doing to the athletes in terms of demands. This is why Nick Saban has retired. He even said that a large reason he's retiring now is because kids are more interested in their NIL deal than they are about playing college football. Not to mention the transfer portal has kind of done a lot for coaches. And coaches do need to adapt for that. And I think Saban is understanding that he's not going to be able to do that.
He's in the 70s, yeah.
Nor does he need to, right? And he doesn't need to do that. I don't know. I'd like to see what the NFL players or that deal looks like with the licensing to the NFL and how much money goes into that for Madden every year. I think $600 maybe is a good starting point. It's not enough. And again, if you're a big time college player, $600 is not enough. Now you're also going to make more money on endorsements elsewhere. I do appreciate the gesture, but it seems very, very low to me. You know what would have been a cooler gesture? Is if they, maybe anybody who wasn't on scholarship, they paid for that, right? Mm-hmm. If they're going to use their name in there, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, add a zero on the 600. That's not fair. I don't know what EA's budget is on this,
right?
But you hope that they get a little more involved than just $600 a player, which again is it's just not a lot. I don't know how else to say it. It's not nothing. I'm not negating it, but it's not a lot. All right. And if I was a top tier player, I'd want a little more than that. Sure. But it's a step in the right direction. We'll see where it goes. I'm very conflicted on this one, right? Because I'm not mad at them for doing it.
Right.
It's just like, okay, I guess that's a starting point. I wouldn't look at this as like the end point.
No, I mean, and to be fair, again, it's the first game coming back in 11 years, and you wonder if the game sells very well. To your point, it's going to
sell like crazy.
Oh, I'm going to buy it.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're going to make a lot more than $6 million on this game.
Sure.
Right. So
then you wonder if they take some of that profits and, like you said, maybe that number goes up or they do something different next year.
I hope so. Right. I just look, I'm very conflicted on this as a whole because, colleges shouldn't just be football factories, right? Like there's a higher purpose to college. College is already way too expensive, and most of these athletes aren't paying for it, right? So it's like, where's that money going? Why are you charging these kids the sum of a single family home for 4 years, and then you expect them to pay them out? I mean, it's a bubble and it's dangerous. Not to mention that unless you're highly specialized in college right now, I don't think you're getting your money's worth with your education.
No, I agree 100%. Yeah, I think it's kind of, I mean, it's not full. It's kind of like a scam at this point.
It is. You're getting a 4-year party.
Yeah.
And it's a scam because there's kids coming out of college saying, I think I want to make $180,000 a year out of college. And it's like, that is not realistic for most people.
My first job out of college was $20,000 a year.
Yeah. And we were happy to have it.
Yes.
All right. And it's actually ecstatic to have it.
And that's That's less than 20 years ago, folks.
Yeah.
That was 2007.
It might be 35 now. That's still not a lot. We were happy to have a job.
I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I was thrilled to have a job.
I was in the same boat, man. We did
I know. I hate to say, we sound a little bit like old man shouting at cloud right now, but there is a little bit of like unrealistic expectations right now amongst the youth. But I will also agree that like Congress needs to step in and like needs to fix this whole thing where you are literally charging people now $100,000 a year in some places. Right. Yeah. Like,
and you're not going to make that. You're not going to make that out of college. Like
it's a scam to keep people in debt for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And doctors know this well, and they do get paid enough money to pay off their debt after 20 years.
Sure.
Right. Like the other thing too is this, just about colleges, is that I'm not poo-pooing on college. I think it's important if you know what you want to do and they have specialized skill sets that they can teach you.
Yes.
You and I did a program like that. We went to broadcasting school. Look at this. We're broadcasting. Huh.
Yeah.
All right. But look, this is where this bubble bursts is a lot of companies, my own included. We don't require college degrees anymore to apply.
Yeah.
It might help you, but we don't require it. I have had employees that have not went to college, right? Not graduated college, and they were great employees. Adversely, we've also had some that have. Right. Mm-hmm. So my point is, it's not a prerequisite here anymore. And I think the more and more that becomes common stay, that you don't need a college degree, you just need experience. That's when colleges start to die, because it's not worth the money anymore. Right. So, and that's what's going to happen.
The market will help dictate things. I mean, that's the thing is that, like, I mean, they call it the paper ceiling, where a lot of folks are, who have a lot of experience, but don't have a degree. And for whatever reason, whatever AI program that sifts through a lot of resumes now automatically puts them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this too. One of the funny things you always say, you need 5 years experience. Here's something, young people, if you're listening to this show, you shouldn't look past the 5 years experience thing. It's good that it's there, but that's there for two reasons. One, to weed out people that see that and go, "Oh, I don't have that." Good. You probably don't. If you don't want to fight for it, you're not going to get the job. Number one. Right. Number two, and this is what nobody says. I should probably make a video about this, Ray. You can get 5 years experience in 2 years. You can get 5 years experience in 1 year. It just comes down to how hard you're willing to work. All right. You and I out of college probably got 10 years experience in 3 years. All right.
Yeah.
And we worked it. We worked the hours to support that. All right. So if you're looking to get a job, you're looking to work somewhere, know that. Okay. Yep. 5 years experience. Don't let that stop you. All right. 20 years experience, which nobody sees. That's another thing. Okay. Ray, we only got a few minutes left. We got a couple topics here. Let's keep moving.
Yeah. Real quick, breaking news. It is official. The Panthers did trade Brian Burns to the Giants, by the way.
There you go.
So the Giants are sending back a second. I think the Giants have 2 second-round picks. They're sending one of the second-round picks and their 5th-round pick to get him. And then they also signed him because he was going to be franchise tagged by Carolina. They signed him to a 5-year deal worth $150 million.
Well, Ray, you hear that? It's a heartbeat, Ray. Giants have a heartbeat.
Yeah. So I don't think we have an offensive and a defensive line. Not much
else.
A
little bit of a heartbeat. You have a heartbeat, Ray.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. But that's a great move. Honestly, for what they gave up for Brian Burns, it's really actually very good for them.
You got a heartbeat.
So we'll see what happens. Real quick, I mentioned that Congress isn't going to do much to fix the education problem.
What am I doing? What's that sound? That's a TikTok sound. Yeah.
Yes. But Congress has had a hard-on for this for several years now. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It's something they don't understand because everybody in Congress are a bunch of Luddites, and they generally are scared of TikTok because it is owned by a Chinese corporation. Although
Chinese government.
Yes, and that's the thing. Even though the CEO is Singaporean and whatnot, and they are. And by the way, there's a lot of Chinese corporations that, of course, have invested into American companies, especially in tech. So this isn't unheard of, but they are doing everything they can to make it so that unless they diversify, because 170 million Americans, that's half the population, are on TikTok and actively use TikTok. They are afraid.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They are afraid of what the Chinese government could possibly do in terms of probably trying to send propaganda or something over, which then it starts to get into freedom. There's going to be a whole lawsuit about freedom of speech and First Amendment and all this other stuff. But government is basically trying to make TikTok diversify, sell to an American company, or at least partially sell to an American company to kind of have a checks and balances on it because it is owned by China. Lee, this is very interesting. Chinese government, yes.
You gotta say that, man.
Yeah, and this could kill TikTok.
Yeah.
So at least here in the States, it can definitely kill it. Lee, what are your thoughts on this?
Look, my very brief and to the point thoughts are this: if it is deemed a threat to national security, like legitimately deemed that, it does have to go away or something has to change. All right. I don't think people understand fully, and I'm not saying that I do either, the threat that can portray to this country. And again, we did see this in the last 2-3 elections. All right. Sure. Tampering with our social media, and you can see how influential it is on people. I'm not making any kind of statements that it was stolen or this or false, but we know that there was massive false information on our own social media websites in the last few elections, which Congress has also come down on. I also agree with you that Congress doesn't really fully know what they're doing with this stuff. They don't understand the medium.
So how does TikTok connect to the Wi-Fi?
Right. I mean, but I'm going to tell you this: there are very smart people working at the FBI, the CIA. And
I think they should listen. I think the idiots in Congress should listen to those smart people.
Sure. And what I'm saying is this: if those people behind the scenes that really are intelligent deem this a threat to national security, we should listen to those people. All right. There is no reason TikTok can't be remade in America or somewhere else. Or if, like you said, if it diversifies, I think that's fine too. But I would say that I have moderate concern, Ray, over TikTok with tampering with national security. That doesn't mean I'm saying get rid of it. I'm going to say it again. If it's deemed that this is a threat to national security, we don't need another social media network. You can get rid of it. All right. I am not so locked onto it that we need to keep it. All right. I think
especially after the algorithm changes.
Yeah. Look, it's just like we're so reliant on that. I mean, look, Facebook went down for a little bit last week, and you can see how much that impacts people. When Meta went down, Instagram was down, Facebook was down. People were losing their minds for just an hour. Right. So like we really rely on this stuff more than people think. It is an addiction in many ways. And I'm okay with one less if we think it's going to be a threat to national security. And I'm going to say this again to everybody listening. With the way the world is moving right now, the world has a heartbeat, and in a geopolitical world where there's a lot of war and we are in an election year, the dopamine dose you get from TikTok is not worth threatening national security, no matter how much you love TikTok. And if it is deemed, I'm going to keep saying this, if it's deemed a threat, they should get rid of it. I'm not saying it is.
Yeah, this is just the beginning, folks. This is going to have a long, this is going to be a long
battle.
Well,
they want it gone before the election. But it's not going to happen.
I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, no, that's what they want. That's what they want to happen.
They want a lot of things, and then they don't usually get anything done. They say they want a lot of things, and then don't do anything.
Yeah.
That's the truth too, folks.
Oh, it's true. But look, progress is possible, but it's very, very slow. And typically it's because the two sides of our government have to fight and fight and fight and fight. But that's how progress is done. And the older I get, the more I realize there's no immediate gratification in Congress. The changes you want probably will come long after you're gone or later in your life. But if you believe in them, you fight for them. But this is one where I'm not so anti-government that I can't say what I'm saying. That if this is going to be a threat to my kids or my country,
sure.
We don't need it, right? But that's just where I stand on it.
Yeah, no, I think that if it gets to that point, I just worry about when I see a senator go talk to the CEO.
No clue what they're talking about.
No, and he's like, "Are you sure you don't work for the China? You're not Chinese?"
Yeah, I hate that.
He's like, "Yes, Senator, I'm Singaporean." It's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you look Chinese to me?" That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, not just to us, but to to the whole world. That's embarrassing.
It is. Yeah.
And so that's the thing where it's just I do agree that smart people should look into this. The problem is I don't think there's a single smart person.
Sure. And if that's the case, nothing's going to happen. Which there you go. I mean, you have your solution.
Yeah, it's just we talk about the anger culture, right? People just looking to me. I feel like we have 535 politicians in Congress right now who just are looking for reasons.
Look at me.
Exactly. So anyway, that's just my cynical take on things because that's just the way I am.
That's the way Ray is.
Yes.
I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am?
Yeah. We will end this though on a somber note.
Somber but strong.
Yes.
Let's celebrate this man, right? This is a celebration.
This was I mean, there's no way. This was a great man who did so much for pop culture and for games and for manga and for cartoons. The great Akira Toriyama passed away. We actually found out a week after he had passed because they kept things very private in Japan, and understandably so. He passed away on March the 1st at the age of 68. He's the creator of Dragon Ball. And he's had also other things called Mr. Super. He worked on Chrono Trigger way back in the day, in Dragon Quest as character designer, and he has influenced our culture for many, many years. Miyamoto, who, for of course, the creator of Nintendo of Legend of Zelda and Mario Brothers, cites him as an inspiration in his works in manga. And it's just very, very sad. But he lived an amazing life. The outpouring of love around the world. Yeah. You hope that I hope he knew how much people loved him before he left.
I'm sure he did, Ray. Yeah.
So, but
I mean, there's no way he couldn't.
Yes. So, but just phenomenal. I mean, he's been getting tributes from every walk of media and life and all over the world. There's a tribute to him in wrestling. There's been tributes to him in obviously in games and in comics and manga. Like everybody just an outpouring of love across all social media. And it's actually that's when social media is good, because you can see how much a person has positively affected people. And Akira Toriyama absolutely affected a lot of, if not everyone he touched positively. So he lived a good life in that regard.
Yeah. Ray, I'm with you on that. Nothing to add to that. It was beautiful.
Thank you. See, sometimes I have a heart.
Oh, you've always had a heart. I just had this. You just have to have X-ray vision to see it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the mashup this week, Mike Tyson is fighting Jake Paul, but we're going to talk about what comic book superhero we'd like to see fight Mike Tyson, or Mike Tyson fight them. That's this week's mashup. That's coming out Saturday. Make sure you stay tuned for that. You guys loving the mashups, loving those mashup episodes.
Yes, we appreciate it very, very much.
Whoa, is that a throwback to last week? It was.
As always, we appreciate it. And be sure to leave reviews, 5-star reviews. Let us know how you think we're doing. Comment below and all the stuff.
Share it with a friend.
Share it, please. All the
drink
socials.
Your water.
Yes, drink. I'm on my second bottle.
There you go.
But thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, for Lee, I'm Ray, and this has been Geeks Who Like Sports. We'll see you all next week. We'll see you for the mashup.
Mashup.
Bye, everybody.
Like and share. Subscribe and show you care. Comment below the Geeks Who Like Sports.